Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Chanukah Sameach. Welcome, everyone. We're happy to launch this Kola program of for Chanukah with Rav Hanan. Appreciate your cooperation and willingness to add your knowledge and Torah to our beautiful community. And of Avichai, Berkowitz, one of the newcomers of our Kola this year, will enlighten this evening with his thoughts. We'll first begin with Rav Hanan for 5 minutes or so, and then somewhat like 20 minutes with Rav Avichai Shir. As bechavod.
Thank you, Rav Yitzchak and Rav Avichai. We're waiting to hear your Divrei Torah. Thank you so much for this wonderful initiative of learning Torah and adding light on our festival of lights, Chag HaOrim, Chag HaChanukah. Thinking about Chanukah, where do we find ourselves in Chanukah? And when I say ourselves, what do I mean? Well, we seem to live our lives in 3 spheres. There is the I, the me, the self, which I communicate, sorry about that. The self, which I experience only myself, my lonely self, only I feel it within myself as part of a, and that community has a shared history, has a shared culture, shared purpose. All human beings are part of a community. And then, of course, we experience ourselves as part of humanity as large. We're all human beings. When we look at Chanukah, it seems that Chanukah particularly is connected to that second sphere in which we experience ourselves. It is not necessarily the self, the individual salvation. It is our story as a nation, as a community who serves God, who wants to serve God in our own particular way, and who was not able to do so because of pressures from the outside, and that overcame all those challenges and came out victorious and were able to bond again as a community with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But that has to do with our lives. That has to do with our lives as a community. It's not a universal message. It is not. It has nothing to. It even seems to contrast the universe. Our universal feelings are part of humanity. No, Chanukah is a victory over the outside world. Those who are not us. Those who are not part of Am Yisrael. Those who are not Jewish. So it seems at first glance. But then when we take a second look, Chanukah might contain more than we think it does. The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah, at the beginning of the Masechet, refers to 2 Chagim, referred to in the Mishnah, Saturn and Kalanda. And Rav Hanan Barava says that these 2 festivals are one before the shortest day, are 8 days before the shortest day of the year at winter, at Kufat Tevet, the time that we are now, this time of the year. And the other one Kalanda is 8 days after that, the shortest day of the year. And then the Gemara goes on and brings an interesting baita. Tanu Rabbanan, where did this festival, what are the roots of these pagan festivals? Yes, we're talking about pagan festivals, one to the god of the sun, Saturn, and the other one to the god Kalanda. Where do these pagan festivals, what are their root origins? Their root origins are actually pre-pagan, says the Gemara. It's so early, it's probably the most ancient festival. Who started this festival? Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon, after he was banned from Gan Eden, he and Chava were wandering around the world, lonely, all alone, and they were worried because they realized that since the day they were banned from the Garden of Eden, from Gan Eden, every day seems to be shorter than the previous day. And the days go on, and every day is shorter and shorter. And Adam HaRishon thinks that this is the punishment from HaKadosh Baruch Hu for eating from Etz Hadat. And perhaps they are worried, Adam and Chava, the time will come and they'll remain in pitch darkness for the rest of their lives. The days will go shorter and shorter until there won't be any more days anymore. And then came this time of Tkufat Tevet, and the days began to come longer. And Adam HaRishon said to himself, aha, minhag ha'olam hu zeh. This is the way of nature. Leshana acheret, the next day, the next year, at that time of the year, Adam and Chava celebrated 8 days, a celebration of light. So we have a celebration of light of 8 days, and the words Leshana Acheret, which Chazal use also regarding Chanukah, and the comparison here is shouting. Yes, we're talking about a festival that is very similar to Chanukah, 8-day festival of lights during the same time of the year. So the Gemara there doesn't say anything about Chanukah, but it seems to be that it's important for Chazal to point out that this festival, this Roman festival called Saturnalia, does not have its root in paganism, but it predates paganism. Why? Probably because of the connection to Chanukah. Chazal want us to understand that this festival, that perhaps is somehow connected to Chanukah, is not a pagan festival. It's much earlier with Adam HaRishon. But what turns out to be is that if indeed there is a connection between Chanukah and this festival of lights of Adam HaRishon, then Chanukah is not only a particular festival, it's not only a festival where we celebrate our nitzachon, our victory over our enemies, but it's also a universal festival where the entire world celebrates light, and the light of the world, the light of nature. And in that sense, we're all part of the same, we're celebrating the same thing in that sense. And indeed, even today, the Hindus have Diwali, the Christians who celebrate on the 25th of December to the 1st of January, 8 days as well. They say it has to do with light as well. And in various places in the world, there are festivals of light during this time of the year. Indeed, as the Gemara says, Hem asawa avodat kochavim, but who, Adam HaRishon, kiven lashamayim, had in his mind to do these things for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the sake of heaven. So yes, various cultures took it to different directions, but in a way, the whole humanity are celebrating at the same time of the year, and there is some sort of connection between the whole humanity, even on this Chag Chanukah, that seems so particular. There is even here a universal aspect, but there is more than that. Adam HaRishon represents also the universalism. He represents the entirety of humanity. Adam HaRishon is the father of all humans. But at the same time, also, he represents the individual human being. Adam and Chava, at that time in the world, when they were banned from the Garden of Eden, were alone, were lonely, experienced themselves as individuals who were lost in the world, who were afraid. They didn't know what they're going to. They were banned from the Garden of Eden. And so we today, in a sense, especially during these times, we are afraid. Each and every one of us has their own hardships and challenges. And at a cold and dark winter night, we see the reflection of ourselves, Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam, in that small glittering candle that who knows, any minute the wind can come and do something terrible to. And there we are standing, but then through the candle, Hashem, we see a glimpse of Hashem, who looks from us, from his shafri chevyon, from his place of hiding. And then all of a sudden we feel the presence of Hashem. And in that instant and moment, that feeling of despair and of Yeush, all of a sudden comes tikva, emunah, and we feel the light of Hashem, Mosif veholech, as the days come and get longer, so too we feel the hand of Hashem as he leads each and every one of us through life, through the darkness of light, and that small shalhevet of the Chanukah, that tiny ner lights the great light of Yerushalayim and of the Geulah. So here we have all three aspects of our existential lives: the particular, the universal, the individual, all come together in Chanukah as we stand before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. May this Chanukah be a Chanukah of Simcha, of Or, and Geulah. Chag Sameach.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Rav Hanan, to enlightened and inspired us to just at the beginning of Chanukah, and from these lights and the strength you now gave us and the deep understanding, Bezat Hashem will go forward and spread more and more light in our lives and in the world. So koach. Bechavod, we'll go straight to Rav Avichai. I will share the screen. First, you can begin, and as you're talking.
Yeah, maybe Rav, you can share the screen in 1 minute. I'll just start with a quick story.
Okay.
It's good to be here, everyone. Shkoyach, Avichai, for organizing it. And it's a big pleasure to speak on the first night. So thank you very much. Just tell you a quick story, everyone. Tonight I started telling my son about Chanukah. He's a bit young, so he doesn't really understand Tosfot yet. So I told him the basic story. And as I was saying the basic story, I found myself like, what story do I tell him? Do I tell him that the Jews killed the Greeks? Or do I tell them that there was a menorah that didn't have enough oil, and then there was a miracle? Like, there's two stories for Chanukah, and I couldn't decide which one to focus on. And so I kind of told him both stories, but it made me realize how, I guess, two-faced Chanukah is. There's not much two stories. Everyone tries to work out what the connection between these two stories are and what they teach about each other. But I'm going to go straight into business. So the question that bothered me was, why do we do on Chanukah more than what we need to do? That was the name of the shiur. Why do more than we need to do? If we can just see on the screen, the source sheet. Oh, we're going to go straight to the Gemara. The Gemara says the following. I'm going to read it in Hebrew and then translate it into English. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Mitzvat Chanukah, ner ish uveito. The basic mitzvah of Chanukah is for each household to light one candle. None of us do that these days, not anyone that I know, but that's the basic mitzvah. You want to be Yosei Chovah, you only need to light one candle per household. The Pnei Yoshua asks, what's the meaning of that? We know that in most mitzvot, every person is mechuyav. But that's for a different year. The mehadrin ner lechol echad ve'echad. Mehadrin, people who want to do more, people who do extra, people who take a few steps forward, they light a candle for each person in the house. Ner lechol echad ve'echad. V'amehadrin mina mehadrin, and let's say the best of the best, the frumest of the frumest. Beit Shammai omrim yom rishon madlik shmona, mikan ve'elach pochet v'olech. On the first day he lights 8, and then he decreases. Beit Hillel omrim, this is what we do, yom rishon madlik achat, like we all did tonight. Mikan ve'elach mosif ve'olech, and you gradually increase till you reach 8 on the last day. That's the Bible. Now, if I would ask you, what's the halacha? So you would all say, yafeh. You need to light a candle per house. If you're really frum, you do a candle per person. And if you're the Rav Ovadia, you do 8 on the first night or 1 on the first night. And if you're mehado mina mehado. But if you look at the Shulchan Aruch, if you go one source down, you'll see that the Shulchan Aruch doesn't even bring option 1 and option 2. He only brings the chumrah. He only brings mehadrin mina mehadrin. Kama nerot madlik. How many lights should one kindle? That's the English translation. Balayla rishon madlik echad. On the first night he kindles 1 light. And from then he continues and gradually increases until the last night he'll have 8. He paskins, and even if there's more people in the household, like the Tosfot told, you don't do 8 each, you only do 8 per household. But the Rema brings the opinion that every person lights 8, like the Rambam understood, and that's what we do. So the question that bothered me is, why are we suddenly all mehadrin mina mehadrin? What's pshat, you could say? For example, in Sukkot, I don't know what you all buy, but I used to work in the shuk, the Arbat Aminim shuk. That's where I made all my money, my great exit, by selling at Rugim. So you've got a lot of different people. Some people come and they buy a kosher set, 70 shekels. Some people buy a mehudal set, so that's 110 shekels. Some people buy mehudal mina mehudal, that's, 150 shekels. And some people, you can see it's worth taking more money out of them. You charge them 500 shekels. Okay, but you see that people buy whatever they want. There's mehudal, there's mehudal mina mehudal, that's kosher. Pitom b'Chanukah, no one does the basic thing. We're all so frum. We're so machmir. So why is that? So there are many answers to that. One answer, which I'll just say it's not the answer we're going to go with, but there's one answer that says the following. That we know that really there was no reason to look for pure oil to light the menorah with, because there's a rule that when all of Am Yisrael are impure, Tumah hudra b'tzibur, you do not need to be makpid to bring pure oil, and therefore they could have kindled the menorah with non-pure oil. The fact that they went to look for pure oil shows you that they were mehader. So that's why we are also mehadrin mina mehadrin. That's one approach. I would like to offer that the reason we all are so, I guess, machmir, or so, I don't know what word to say it, so firm on Chanukah is to do with the essence of the day B'Islam. So to answer that question, what is the essence of Chanukah? I want us to quickly look at a different machloket. Also a machloket in Hilchot Chanukah. And it's not really a machloket, it's basically a halach in the Shulchan Aruch. It says the following. For example, I'll just tell you, I just had dinner and I had a whole debate if I should have bread or not have bread. Why did I have a debate? I didn't really want bread, but if it was a Sudat mitzvah, for example, if it's a mitzvah to have a meal, you really should l'chatchila have bread, like on Shabbos or on Sukkot, when there's a chiyuv to have a Suda. So, is there a chiyuv to have a Sudat mitzvah? Is there a chiyuv to have a meal on Chanukah? Says the Shulchan Aruch, the many meals which we add on these days, riboy Sudot shemarbim behem, and Sudot hareshut, are voluntary meals. Shelo kva'um lemishteh v'simcha. The Chachamim didn't establish these days as mishteh v'simcha, feasting and joy. Mishteh v'simcha obviously reminds us of Chanukah, of Purim. Purim yesh mishteh v'simcha. So the Lashon says it's not like Purim. Chanukah isn't like Purim as mishteh v'simcha. You don't need to eat. So I didn't bring this. Oh, I brought the source. We're not going to read it inside. I'm just going to say it there myself. So why is that? So why don't you need to eat? Why is there no mitzvah to eat? On Chanukah, what? In the end of the day, we were saved by the Greeks. We were saved by Hashem from the Greeks. We're not saved by the Greeks. So, they wanted to kill us. So when we were saved, so the Chayra, we need to eat. That's what happens in Purim. Haman wanted to kill us. We were saved, so we eat. That's how a Jew. That's how we celebrate. We eat. So why is there no mitzvah to eat on Chanukah? So the Levush offers the following answer, which you can interpret in many ways. The Levush says the following. He says, "Listen, on Purim, our enemies wanted to kill our bodies. On Chanukah, they didn't want to kill our bodies. They wanted to kill our souls. The Greeks didn't mind if we lived. They just minded that we keep Shabbos, or that we learn Torah, or that we have a Brit Milah. But if we didn't do any of those things, it's fine. We could just become one of them. Haman, never mind what we did, like Hitler and Machshemo, he just wanted us dead. So therefore, says the Levush, the mitzvah on Purim is to eat. And the mitzvah and there's no mitzvah to eat on Chanukah. I'm explaining the Levush now as the Taz understood it. That's what the Levush said. So ask the Taz. So I don't understand. What? Because he didn't want to kill us. He only wanted to take away our Yiddishkeit, so we don't celebrate. Taz says that I don't understand. Taking away Yiddishkeit is even worse than killing us. That's the worst thing. If on Purim we celebrate, Kal V'chomer then on Chanukah should celebrate. On Purim he only wanted to kill us. But on Chanukah, he wanted to take our Torah. So Kal V'chomer, even more so, we should be eating. That's the question. So the Taz says, I understand the Levush a bit differently, says the Taz. This is a very deep message, which is relevant to every Chag B'Shlal, especially in Chanukah. Says the Taz the following. Says, on every festival, on every Chag, the mitzvah represents the essence of the Chag. The way we celebrate is an expression of the essence of what happened. So he says on Purim, they wanted to take away our bodies using the Levush. So how do we celebrate? We give pleasure to our bodies, you could say, yeah? We eat. But on the Chanukah, they wanted to take away our soul. So it says the Taz, we don't not eat because we're not happy. It's just nothing to do with it. Why eat? That's not what they wanted to take away from you. They wanted to take away your spirituality. your Judaism. So that's why you light a candle. That's why the mitzvah, the essence of the mitzvah, is not to do with physicality, rather with spirituality. Obviously, there's still a chiyuv d'oraita to eat a sufganiyah, and even it's better if it's from roladin with geschmack, chocolate and ice cream on. But that's not as much of a chiyuv as lighting the candles. So we learn from this taz that the essence of Hanukkah is spirituality, not physicality. Now, we all know that on Purim, there's a mitzvah to eat. But we don't just eat. We have a geschmack meal. We have 7 different kinds of steak. We have whiskey, we have wine, we have bread, we have cakes, we have dessert. We have a full-on meal. We invest in the meal. So on Chanukah, if the whole essence is spirituality, so we're not just going to do the basic thing. You know, it's like someone in Purim says, there's a mitzvah to eat, I'll have bread and hummus. Not kashur. You need to have a good meal. So because the whole essence of Chanukah is that they wanted to take away spirituality, they wanted to take away our Torah and mitzvot, we show the world and we show ourselves how much we care about Torah and mitzvot, how much we're willing to invest in Torah and mitzvot. And therefore, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't even bring an option of doing the basic mitzvah. Because on Chanukah, we're all much firmer than usual. Because we understand that that's the essence of what Chanukah is. The essence of Chanukah is that's what they wanted to take away from us. That's what we focus on. So, the fact that we don't eat on Chanukah, dafka focuses us, or that we still eat, but there's no mamash chiyuv to eat, focuses us, or helps us focus on what the chiyuv is. The chiyuv is to light candles, and there's even, there's a minhag, it's brought in Hasidim, to stay half an hour with your candles after you light them. And I thought maybe you can say in a vote, the idea is to take half an hour out of your time and, be a bit with your spirituality. Be a bit with your neshama. You know that the candle represents the neshama of a Yid, the neshama of a Yehudi. So when someone sits next to his candle on Chanukah for half an hour, he says, most of the year, I don't always have time to invest in my spirituality. But on Chanukah for 8 days, I'm the most I can be. Most of the year, I'm parav. But on Chanukah, I'm mamash, I give it all I have. And that's why on Chanukah davka, let's go back to the Baita, that's why on Chanukah, anachu mehadrin, mina mehadrin. So Bezrat Hashem, tomorrow night, it's Shabbos, Motzei Shabbos, and the whole week, every time you light the candle, the question you need to ask yourself is, how much more can I invest in my spirituality? How much am I investing now? And especially in the next 8 days, how can I invest more? And to take a haflata, as we say, to make a decision. There's a big Indian to when you light the candles to mamash contemplate and think about these things. How can I make sure there's more light in my life? There's more light of Torah in my life. There's more light of mitzvot in my life. And how can I be mehader in other mitzvot too? Chag Sameach. Hope you all have a geschmack Chanukah. Thank you so much for organizing it. And amazing, we finished exactly 9 o'clock. Shkoyach, l'chaim.
Perfect timing and an excellent idea. And Bezrat Hashem, you've helped us begin our journey of this week of Hanukkah to strengthen our spirituality by giving us this wonderful shir. And again, thank you to Rav Hanan as well for also adding much to our spirituality. And now we know this is the course we should be on this coming week of Hanukkah. And from then on, light to spread throughout the year and throughout our nation and the world at home. Chanukah Sameach to all.
Chanukah Sameach.
Chanukah Sameach.
Yashikoyach. Chanukah Sameach. Toda rabba. Yashikoyach.
Into you.